Overnight, it seems, you young ones approach adulthood, and the time comes when you must make decisions or plans regarding your future. You must decide, what am I going to do with my life? What is my goals? What careers will I pursue? As we observe the drama, Pursue Goals That Honor God, we invite you to look upon a youth who is faced with such decision.
Julius, are you coming to the gathering tonight?
I've been looking forward to it all week.
Everyone will be there.
Oh, the gathering. I can't. My parents invited Brother Timothy for dinner. They planned it weeks ago.
Julius, you promised.
Lydia, I want to come, believe me. But
This is typical of you, Julius. Always trying to make a good impression when the overseer is here. What are you trying to prove?
I'm not trying to prove anything.
Then come, Julius. Whom would you rather disappoint? Brother Timothy or your friends?
Forget it. Let's go. Julius is obviously a bit confused right now. When Timothy leaves, he'll be himself again.
We'll be there if you decide to come, Julius.
Hello, Julius. Have your parents left?
I'm sorry, Brother Timothy. What did you say?
Have your parents gone home already?
Yes, they went ahead to prepare dinner. They really enjoy your visits, Brother Timothy.
Coming back to Ephesus is like coming home for me. Julius, is something wrong?
Excuse me, Brother Timothy?
Something is weighing on your mind.
No, I'm fine.
Could it have something to do with your friends who just left?
You're right. They were talking about you. Well, not about you, but about the way I act when you're around.
What I see is a young man progressing well in the truth.
Exactly. It seems that way. When you're here, your influence is so strong. And then when you go, there's so much pressure to do what everyone else is doing.
I see.
It's like my heart is torn in two. I have spiritual goals, but I can't seem to stay focused. Higher learning, the games, and girls. I seem to lose my way. You probably don't understand a word I just said.
Perhaps I do understand, Julius. I think that once I was very much like you.
How could that be? You're a pillar among the congregations.
I didn't really become fully involved in the ministry until I was a little older than you are now. Growing up, I was pulled in two different directions. I always thought of myself as a Jew because of my mother and grandmother. But my father was Greek, and he was very much against circumcision. Not having been circumcised, I never felt like a real Jew. I was too timid at times to tell my father how I really felt.
You? Timid?
And when I had to explain to my father that I wanted to become a Christian, and later that I wanted to serve Jehovah more fully, I was frightened even thinking about having to face up to him.
How did you deal with the pressure?
Let me tell you about some of the events that changed my life. It was more than 20 years ago, back in my hometown, Lystra. The Jews had just stoned the Apostle Paul. My mother, Eunice, and my grandmother, Lois, had embraced the Christian faith, and I had to make some difficult decisions.
Paul, please promise me that you will be careful. A lot of people still want to hurt you. And your wounds, shall I dress them again?
My dear Eunice, you've done enough. You know we have to enter the kingdom of God through many tribulations. Timothy, we haven't heard a word out of you tonight.
Brother Paul, what can I say? I've never seen such an angry crowd. They went from hailing you and Brother Barnabas as gods to beating you and leaving you for dead.
I was afraid, Paul, merely thinking about what they did to you.
Dear Sister Lois, Christ our Lord gave us the strength to endure.
We all were certain you would die. But then you got up and went right back into the city. And you, Brother Barnabas.
My son, the power beyond what is normal is not out of ourselves. Jehovah supplies it.
Brothers, we have prepared some food for your journey.
Thank you, sisters. Is it ready?
Yes, come with me. We'll pack it up.
Brother Paul, I'm curious. How should I put this? Do you have any regrets?
Regrets? My son, I have found excelling value in the knowledge of Christ. On account of him, I am willing to give up worldly fortune and fame and consider it as mere refuse. I only regret not giving it up sooner.
Yet, look at what you've lost.
No. Look at what I have gained. For 13 years, I have enjoyed the privilege of strengthening our brothers. I have helped form new congregations. I have seen crowds of disciples everywhere turning to the Lord. Regrets? No, Timothy. I have no regrets.
Not even after enemies of the truth beat you mercilessly?
Timothy, would you consider Jesus a model to imitate?
Of course.
Before coming to this earth, what was his position?
He was God's master worker, happy before God all the time.
And then what?
He delivered us from sin and death.
Right, but not before giving up everything and becoming a slave. He was viewed by many as a despicable blasphemer, an accursed criminal deserving of death. Was all of that in vain? A failure?
Of course not.
So, self-sacrifice results in great gain, does it not? It doesn't mean a life wasted. It means a life lived to the full. A life lived for the only worthwhile purpose, that of serving and praising Jehovah.
But Jesus was God's son, and his purpose was so noble.
That's true. But is our purpose any less noble when compared with the mold this world tries to squeeze us into? What are the nations eagerly pursuing?
Prominence, glory. Athletes gain great fame and a great deal of money.
Fine. Let me test your memory. What was the name of the runner who won the sprint race at the Olympics in the year that Alexander, the king of Macedonia, attended the games?
How would anyone know that?
Do you remember then who was crowned champion at the wrestling contest 40 years later?
I have no idea.
Isn't that interesting? They trained hard. They denied themselves certain pleasures of life. They received their cherished prize, but you can't even recall their names. Now let me ask you, do you remember the name of someone who as a little boy started serving God at his tabernacle?
Now that's easy. Samuel.
What about the young woman who became a queen in Persia and put her life in danger for Jehovah's people?
That's not difficult either. Esther, the cousin of Mordecai.
Why do you remember those names?
Because they are in the Holy Writings.
Yes, but why are they there? What did Samuel and Esther have in common?
They were devoted to God.
And they were self-sacrificing. Would you say that their self-denial led to failure?
Failure? No. I'm confident that their names are written in the Book of Life.
Whatever they sacrificed to serve Jehovah, do you think that it was worth it?
I think that I see your point, Brother Paul. So if we use...
Paul, the sisters have prepared more provisions than we will ever need.
My dear sisters, we will always remember your hospitality and love.
Our love and prayers go with you.
My son, remember what we discussed.
I won't forget it.
Hello, Timothy. And sisters, it's good to see you.
Thank you, Jonathan. It's good to see you as well.
Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you've come. There's something I want to share with you.
What is that, Timothy?
I just had a remarkable conversation with Brother Paul.
I thought that I saw him leaving.
Ever since we got baptized, I have seriously been considering my future. I want to use my life to the full in God's service.
Wait a minute. Ever since we were children, we have been planning to go to school together in Athens. What has suddenly changed?
My conversation with Paul has made me re-examine my priorities. Ever since he became a Christian, Paul has used his life to honor God. I can't get over how happy he is with the choices he has made. I want to be just as happy as he is.
I want to serve God too, but I've got other things I want to achieve. Education, marriage.
There's nothing wrong with those plans, but maybe we should be reaching out for spiritual goals first.
Why rush? You've got your whole life ahead of you.
I know, Jonathan.
What is your father going to say? You don't want to tell him, do you?
I am going to tell him. Tonight, in fact.
Remember how we used to talk about going to Athens? Learning at the feet of the masters, establishing a profitable business, and maybe settling with our families in Ephesus? Those were our goals.
Yes, but my thinking has changed. Now I want to honor Jehovah by doing all I can in his service.
But you can do both. Lead a normal life and preach. Look at this prosperous nation. There are great opportunities ahead.
Look at the peoples of this same nation and see how many need to hear the good news.
Timothy, I love you like a brother, but this doesn't change my goals. Next month I'm leaving for Athens, whether you come with me or not.
I can no longer ride on the faith of my mother and grandmother. I know what I must do.
God's blessing, Timothy. I have to go, my friend. Be well.
You too, Jonathan.
Goodbye, Jonathan. He left in a hurry. I thought he was staying for dinner.
I told Jonathan that I want to do more in God's service.
That's wonderful.
Jonathan didn't think that it was wonderful. It was almost as if he felt betrayed.
He has to make his own decision about serving God more fully. You know that's not going to be easy, Timothy. Do you expect everyone to encourage you to pursue Christian goals?
What a day!
Your father is here. Say a prayer, son, for courage. I have to go and finish the meal.
The marketplace was packed today. The Roman garrison has brought so much business. Something smells wonderful. I'm home, Eunice. Where is my son?
Hello, Father.
My son. How was your day?
Magnificent.
You must share it with me then. I heard that preacher Paul was here in the city today. No one can believe that he returned after what happened. Among his many faults, he is a courageous man.
I would say so.
This I cannot believe. Here is a man from a prominent family who had a good education. For a Jew, he has the rare talent to become somebody. But look at him. He is reviled. I'll never understand a man like that. But you, my son, I want you to enjoy a good life, to take over the family business.
Thank you, Father.
You are gifted, intelligent. There has never been a better time for a young man like you. Use your talent to get ahead in the world.
Father, now that you mention it,
Yes? Say it, Timothy. Speak your mind.
I need to tell you something.
Yes. Tell me about your magnificent day. Wait. This doesn't have anything to do with that man Paul, does it?
No, Father. It's about me.
That's a relief.
I have no desire to go to Athens. Rather, I want to engage fully in preaching the good news about Christ.
What? Do you want to bring ostracism on this household and on yourself? Everybody everywhere speaks against this sect. How could you throw your life away for it?
I'm not throwing my life away.
No? How else shall I view your decision? Those accursed followers of that man Jesus are despised and persecuted. Will our family be a laughingstock? No. No son of mine will do this.
I only want to do God's will.
Is it God's will for you to be dead? I want you alive. Am I going to find you outside the city one day, clinging to life because our people have turned on you, like they turned on Paul? No, Timothy, this cannot be.
Father, you know that I love you deeply, but you always taught me to honor the gods. I am honoring the only true God.
Timothy, you have broken my heart. Eunice, put my dinner away. I'm no longer hungry.
Mother, are you sure you're making enough food? The brothers from Iconium are also coming. From what I remember, they have big appetites.
Don't worry, Timothy. Leave the cooking to us. You make sure that the room is in order for them to meet in.
It's ready.
Jonathan!
Jonathan, how long has it been since we've seen you?
At least 2 or 3 years, Sister Lois.
My friend, it's wonderful to see you.
And you, Timothy.
And who is this?
You remember Persis? We all used to play together when we were children, until her family moved to Athens.
Why, of course. Look how you have grown into a lovely woman.
Thank you, Sister Lois.
I came to announce that we are engaged to be married.
That's wonderful.
Congratulations!
I also came to talk to you, my friend. It's been a long time since we have been able to talk face to face.
I read every one of your letters, Jonathan.
There's so much I couldn't tell you in those letters. In fact, I can't even describe what an experience it was to be in Athens. The education I received opened my mind.
I got my education in Iconium as...
Iconium? Are you serious? I'm talking about higher education in Athens. You've heard of it, haven't you? The games, the theater, the great teachers.
Remember, I was thinking of going there with you. But Iconium? Now that was an experience. The congregation there gave me my real education. What a thrill, what a joy it was to see young ones making the truth their own.
If they wanted to see someone following Jesus, they had to look no further. They saw Timothy in the flesh.
Actually, I learned more than they did.
Oh, please. You don't know what a real education is until you go to a place like Athens. I'm ready for anything the world throws my way.
It sounds like things have worked out for you.
So, what about you? It must be tough since the death of your father. Don't you want to have financial security?
We're content, having sustenance and covering. Keeping my life simple has also given me freedom to do more for the congregation.
Don't you ever wonder what's out there?
There are times when I think about having more, but I have found that true to our Master's words, giving in God's service brings real happiness.
You have always struggled to maintain your spiritual goals. For that, I admire you. As for me and my household, we are moving to Ephesus.
Really?
I met a prominent Christian from Ephesus who was in Athens on business. His name is Philetus. He has a thriving trading business, and he has asked me to join him. I told him about you too. From what he says, there is a lot of opportunity in his city for both of us.
Really? But I don't want to leave my ministry.
Of course not. I would never want you to do that. But if you ever need anything, write to me. Believe me, it will be worth your while.
Paul and Silas will be here shortly. They would love to see you. Why not stay and...
I would like to, but,
Jonathan, your parents are waiting.
we have to go.
Jonathan, how I have enjoyed seeing you again. Exactly what did you mean when you said that it would be worth my while?
Here, look at this number. This could be your share of the business if you ever decided...
My, that's a good prospect. But I would never...
Well, think about it. Remember, I meant it when I said that if you ever need anything, write to me.
Jonathan, we really must go.
Of course, dear. Timothy, we could be a great team. Believe me, it would be worth your while, my friend.
Who knows, Jonathan? Don't forget us here in Lystra.
I think Paul and Silas are here.
Brothers, come in.
Looks like you're cooking for the whole congregation, Eunice.
Paul, Silas, you must be famished. And are these the fine elders from Iconium? Timothy always speaks so fondly about the brothers in your city.
We were happy to have him.
Timothy, we've been talking about you.
You have, Brother Silas?
Yes, Timothy. We have heard good things about you from the elders, both in Lystra and in Iconium.
Your faith and devotion are evident in this congregation.
You've gained the brothers' respect in Iconium as well.
What are your goals, Timothy?
I love the congregation here in Lystra, but there's so much to do in the Lord's work beyond our city. I plan to talk to you and Brother Paul about making myself available to do more.
I'm glad to hear that, Timothy. You have matured spiritually since we left some 3 years ago. Let me ask you about something that the elders and I have prayed about and discussed at length.
What is it, Brother Paul?
We need help as we spread the good news among the nations. We would like you to join us in the missionary work.
Me? I'm speechless.
That's wonderful, Timothy. How Jehovah has blessed you in reaching your goals.
What about you and grandmother? How will you get along now that Father has passed away?
Jehovah will provide.
Yes, Timothy, we'll be fine. Let God use you to the full.
Will you accept the assignment, Timothy?
How could I reject such a privilege? But I will miss you both.
My dear son, we will miss you terribly. But nothing could make us happier. You are leaving for the best reason of all, to serve God more fully.
Give my greetings to every holy one in union with Christ Jesus. I also want to send greetings from our brothers here in Rome. Take this down. The brothers who are with me send you their greetings. All the holy ones, but especially those of the household of Caesar, send you their greetings. And Timothy, one final word to our brothers. The undeserved kindness of the Lord Jesus Christ be with the spirit you show.
Excellent, Paul. This letter is motivating. Shall I arrange to send the letter to Philippi?
Yes, please do that. What is it, Timothy? Have we forgotten something in our letter?
No, it's quite complete.
Then what is it?
Oh, nothing important.
Timothy, are you hiding something from me?
I feel unworthy.
What do you mean?
You praise me too much, Paul. What did you write to our brothers in Philippi? I have no one else of a disposition like his?
Like a child with a father, he slaved with me in furtherance of the good news. I mean that.
You have always seen more in me than I see in myself. Why?
Do you remember when we first met?
How could I forget? Almost 15 years ago. I thought we had lost you.
Yes, Lystra almost became my grave. How your family nursed me when I returned from Derbe. That memory will always be with me. Do you recall how we would sit for hours and talk?
You opened my eyes to a world I never even knew existed. I still call to mind your words. How will those multitudes hear without someone to preach? Then you spoke of Macedonia, of Athens, of Rome, even of Spain. You envisioned congregations of fellow believers springing up everywhere around the Great Sea.
When we spoke of missionary service, I saw your eyes light up. I saw your sincere faith, a faith that dwelt first in your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice.
They set a fine example.
Yes, but it was you who chose to follow their example. When you helped care for my wounds, I saw empathy in your eyes. When we talked about working for the Lord, there was excitement in your heart. You displayed unwavering loyalty, and I came to have confidence in you.
I so much wanted to help you with the work.
That's my point. When I returned to Lystra some 3 years later, you had grown into a capable young man. It was then that I realized my prayers were answered.
You have mentioned that before.
Silas and I needed help. Mark had left us. Barnabas was not with me anymore. The brothers had nothing but praise for you. And when we laid our hands upon you, it was revealed to us that Jehovah had further work for you.
How I appreciate God's hand in these matters.
You have truly made your advancement manifest. So when I write that I have no one else of this disposition, it is the truth.
But many have worked hard in spreading the good news.
Yes, but you are the one who stuck with me through all these years, through all the tears and all the trials.
Who could have passed up such a privilege to see the good news preached in all the world under heaven?
Plenty of young men with your gifts have. Think about it. Would your father have chosen this course for you? You've talked about your friend Jonathan. Would he have recommended this? Look where you are. Look at me. You're with a person who is in prison. This cannot be what others envisioned for you. In fact, I doubt you even envisioned this for yourself.
Maybe not, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. What could give greater satisfaction? Higher learning? Wealth? They can't compare. Thanks to Jehovah, I am rich. I have received the best education a man can have.
Is it then any wonder, Timothy, that you are like a dear child to me?
Ah, here's that one. By the gods, Paul, you and your troublemaker friends, your brothers, will not shut your mouths, will you?
We found this one babbling about that miracle-working Messiah to one of our men. Do you realize that your subversive lunacy has destroyed some of our best families in Rome?
We cannot stop speaking about what we have seen and heard.
Paul, this is not a matter to be taken lightly. If I ever catch you or your friends sharing any more of your laughable ideas with my men of the Praetorian Guard, you will receive no more visitors. Or worse.
God is our helper. We are not afraid. What can men do to us? Did they hurt you, my son?
No, Paul. I'm fine. I've learned to deal with that kind of persecution. What I've never been able to adjust to are the disagreements within the congregation. And to handle these situations without your help,
your next assignment, Ephesus.
We met with our Ephesian brothers in Miletus, 5 years ago? You warned them that oppressive wolves would mistreat the flock.
Yes, we cautioned them that these would come right from among them. Now I understand this lack of confidence you are experiencing. Whether it has been the love of money, or the desire for prominence, or the desires of the flesh, some of our brothers have been led astray.
That's what concerns me.
Timothy, you are well qualified to shepherd our brothers in Ephesus, to readjust some of our fellow Christians there, and to warn certain people there to stop spreading false teachings.
I'm worried about my friend, Jonathan. He and his family moved to Ephesus more than 10 years ago.
Do you think he's going astray?
He appears to be prospering materially, but sometimes I wonder how the move has affected his family spiritually. In his letters, he seems more determined than ever to become rich. It seems that he's holding on to the truth only by a thread.
That's why I'm sending you, to help the brothers get a firm hold on the real life.
This may be my most difficult assignment yet. Some of these brothers have been in the truth for nearly as long as I've been alive.
Let no one ever look down on your youth. See that they look up to you as an example in speech, behavior, faith, and love.
How can I do that?
Don't allow the subtle influences of this world to sidetrack you. Especially could this be a problem in a place like Ephesus. Give your whole attention to spiritual pursuits, so that your progress is plain for all to see.
I pray that Jehovah gives me the spirit and power I need to do that.
My son, God will finish your training.
I will sorely miss you, Paul. I feel as if I'm leaving my family all over again.
And I will miss you. But no matter where you are, you will be in my thoughts and prayers. It's time to think about departing.
Will I see you again, Paul?
I hope so. Timothy.
Yes?
You are ready, my son.
My friend Timothy, it has been such a long time. We are delighted to have you back in Ephesus. When I heard you were coming, I was not about to miss this meeting.
I'm glad, Jonathan. How is Persis?
She is home nursing our newborn.
Is that your third?
Fourth. 3 daughters and our son, who just turned 8.
Timothy, good to see you are doing well.
Excuse me, Philetus. Timothy and I have much to catch up on. You remember Philetus, don't you, Timothy?
Yes, of course. Jonathan often speaks of you in his letters.
And nearly everyone has spoken of you, Timothy.
Philetus is generous and well respected in the congregation and in the city.
Some teach, some preach, and I give what I can.
He has helped many brothers to make a good living. Thanks to Philetus, I'm finally achieving some of the goals I set when I left Lystra.
I am happy for you, Jonathan. And how are you doing in the congregation?
I'm here, am I not?
You know that's not what I'm asking about.
Jonathan is a fine brother. He does what he can as a young man with a family. Now you, Timothy, you are a man in your prime, with great potential. What are your plans here in Ephesus?
Paul sent me to help the congregation.
Ah, our brother Paul. Is he still in prison?
No, Philetus. He is in Macedonia, persevering as always in the ministry.
It was tragic to hear that you suffered along with him, Timothy. Paul is getting on in years, but you've got your best years ahead of you. Is it true that Paul wants you to live a life of self-denial?
Not at all. Many times Paul and I have enjoyed in abundance. At other times we have been in want. Whatever the case, Jehovah imparts power to us.
I'm very glad to hear that. You can enjoy an abundance in Ephesus. You can have a good life here just as Jonathan does.
Thank you for your concern, Philetus, but my main interest is not in the business of this city or any other.
It's not wrong to want a better life, is it?
God takes care of my needs, and He has richly blessed me.
No doubt, but what kind of stability could this traveling life bring you? By the way, how is your mother back in Lystra? Could she use a bit more help? It can't be easy being a widow.
Such a dear sister.
The brothers have helped me care for her needs when I cannot be there personally.
Ah, Charity. This is merely an example of how you could do so much more with your connections, your experience, and your abilities. Surely you want to reach your fullest potential.
Philetus is right, Timothy. There is no telling how much you could achieve.
Let me be straight with you, Timothy. I see young ones like you, and I worry that certain brothers are not looking out for your best interest.
Philetus, you need not worry about that.
Please, let me finish. I've heard the words of our brother Paul in his letter with all his ramblings against the, how did he put it, uncertain riches, senseless and hurtful desires and the like. Don't you think that he's become a bit unbalanced?
Definitely.
Are you saying that Paul is unbalanced?
I'm only telling you what many people feel in their heart, but are afraid to say.
Be careful, Philetus. The heart is treacherous.
Yes, but that cuts both ways. Paul has spent more time in prison of late than in ministering to the congregations. Of course he says that the great minds of this world are in darkness. If he admitted that this nation is the greatest and most enlightened in history, which it is, he would be admitting that his own choices in life have been unwise.
I think that you are the one who has been misled, Philetus.
You say that, but Paul is the one who writes these letters from his prison cell. A bitter old man alone with his thoughts, stubbornly clinging to the course he chose decades ago. It's plain to see Paul is out of touch with reality.
Christ appointed Paul as an apostle to the nations. Jehovah is richly blessing his ministry. How dare you say that?
Perhaps. But could it be that Paul promotes his personal ideas? This talk about the love of money from a man who has nothing.
How seriously can we take that?
You forget that even Jesus had nowhere to lay his head.
Paul admonishes husbands and wives. Yet what does a man with no wife or children know about family responsibilities? No, Timothy. He teaches his own warped beliefs, not the commands of God.
Philetus, stop thinking like a fleshly man. I admonish you to stick to the healthful teaching that has been passed on by the apostles. To reduce the Christian way of life to a life of comfort and convenience would be to miss the purpose of God's undeserved kindness.
Timothy, is that the way you speak to an older person who offers his hand to you?
It's fine, Jonathan. I understand, Timothy. This must be very upsetting to you. After all, Paul has been like a father to you.
Rather than holding faith and a good conscience, you speak like Hymenaeus and Alexander. You well know that such men were handed over to Satan.
Hymenaeus and Alexander? Is that a threat? Is someone conspiring to expel me from the congregation? You are too young for that, Timothy. I've been a Christian since you were a mere boy. Jonathan, let us not waste any more of Timothy's precious time. Why are you here?
What do you mean, Philetus?
I mean what I asked. Why are you here? Do you really think that anyone here takes you seriously? Everyone knows that when young Timothy speaks, Paul is really talking. All you are is his puppet, and a poor imitation at that. Come back to us when you have grown up and have an original thought to share.
What have you done, Timothy? Philetus was trying to help you.
Is he trying to help me or himself? Didn't you hear him? He wants bright young men to advance his business. People who are determined to be rich fall into all sorts of temptations and traps. Some people love money so much that they've given up their faith and have caused themselves a lot of pain.
First of all, he's not determined to be rich. He's already rich. And second, he's surely not in any pain. Look at him.
Jonathan, my brother, you're missing the point.
And you're missing a great opportunity. I have worked with this brother for as long as you have been with Paul. He has helped my family tremendously.
Has he really, Jonathan? Isn't it time for you to think about your family's spiritual needs? We must put our hope in the living God. No one that rests his faith on him will be disappointed.
That may work for you, Timothy, but the sweat of my brow puts food on my table. I want to give my family a real future.
Jonathan, you are talented. Very talented. Be careful how you use, or perhaps I should say, how you allow others to use your talents. Seek the kingdom first. That's how one lays up a fine foundation for the future and gets a firm hold on the real life. Have you ever truly done that? Be honest with yourself.
I'm simply trying to provide for my family, Timothy. I don't know how to do both. I'm confused.
Think, Jonathan. Isn't it time to have a simple eye focused on spiritual pursuits?
I don't know. I wish I had your faith, Timothy.
Jonathan, are you coming with me?
Jonathan, I fear for you.
Jonathan, I thought we were leaving together.
I've never heard this story before.
You were quite young. It's been some 6 years now.
What happened to Philetus?
Sadly, he rebelled and was finally put out of the congregation.
That is sad. I realize now that it wasn't as easy for you as I thought.
No, I didn't always feel up to the task. But God always made up for my deficiency.
Will he do that for me?
You can be certain that he will, my son.
We've been looking all over for you.
I'm sorry, Father, Mother.
No, I am sorry, Jonathan. I should have asked you if I could spend some time with your son Julius.
You should have asked me. What better friend could my son be with?
Brother Timothy was telling me about when he was my age.
That means he must have told you about your father before he got serious about the truth.
This is quite a story.
Dear Persis, I was telling Julius that all of us have had to struggle to maintain our spiritual goals.
He told me about that argument he had with Philetus. That was something.
It sure was. You could say that was the turning point in my life.
Philetus could not hide his true character anymore.
Until that moment, I had blinded myself to his selfish and wicked reasoning. It frightened me.
I became afraid just hearing the story, as if Jehovah was going to strike him right there.
When I got home that day, I took a good look at my family, and I dropped to my knees. I begged God to help me see what was truly worthwhile to pursue. It became clear that our priorities and goals were not right.
We said we were doing it all for the children, but they were the ones who were suffering spiritually. Deep inside, we knew that Jehovah's service had been all but abandoned.
God gave me a glimpse of how I looked that day. It was not pleasant. It was as if a lamp was lit. I thank Jehovah for your fine example, Timothy.
And we thank him for the good effect you've had on the congregation and on our family.
Serving Jehovah has brought so much happiness to me. There were opportunities to get involved in other pursuits, but believe me, God made it worth my while to serve him fully, and I don't regret one day of my service to him.
We wish to thank Brother Grandy and all those who worked with him in preparing for that gripping drama